reporting for Maricopa Now, Lily Antonini.
And that's our show. I hope you've enjoyed it. Be sure to stay tuned to MCTV for our great lineup of shows, including Inside Maricopa Sports and Enfoque into Futuro. Also, check out our website at mctv.maricopa.edu and click on DeskTube. DeskTube allows you to watch this show and all of our regularly produced programs anytime you wish. Until next time, take care.
Don't touch that remote. MCTV has more great programming coming right up. Join MCTV every day for Inside Maricopa Sports, Enfoque into Futuro, and our daily community calendar update, Campus Calendar.
These laboratories are filled with not only scientists and researchers, but students as well. Helio scholar Jennifer Libby works in a wet lab where she works on rare forms of pediatric cancer.
The cell line that I've been given is called ATRT. It is a rare form of pediatric brain tumor. Usually happens in children under the age of 3. It has a very high fatality rate, and not a lot is known about it. It's recently started being researched and discovered, and we're trying to figure out different inhibitors and how to be able to shut off the genes that form these cancer cells, and then we're also taking them and testing them against different known cancer drugs and seeing what we can do to better develop them so we can save these children from this horrendous disease.
This type of project is not only something she wants to work on as a career path, but also because she knows what it is like to be on the other side of the lab.
As a child, I was diagnosed with hepatoblastoma, which was a rare tumor found in my liver, and went through chemotherapy surgery at Phoenix Children, and then a few years later it had come back and it metastasized, this time in my lungs. And so the doctors basically gave me 50-50 shot of living, and I had to go through surgery, chemotherapy again, this time the old drug that they had given me the first time, and then a new drug that had recently been released to the public. So it's because of research and new drugs and new therapies that I'm alive.
And this opportunity wouldn't have been possible without the Helio Scholar at TGen program.
So they're actually working in the lab or with the research administrator or whatever the position may be. So they're not doing things like taking out trash and cleaning glassware. They're actually participating in a real project that that lab is working on.
Even when I got the phone call that I had been accepted into the scholarship program, I was like, wait, what? Really? I got it? I was so excited. And Helios is just so generous at being able to provide this for us students and to give us the opportunities to broaden our horizons, to get this real life experience before we actually finish school.
The program not only is geared to supply students with the experience of working alongside researchers, but to be able to make their own contributions in order to help others. Reporting for No 99, I'm Sierra Delgado. Robotics isn't the only thing happening in this classroom. Students attending the Villa de Paz Elementary School's Computer Science Academy are learning software engineering, math, and video production as well.
We've went through HTML, CSS, and Python. Python is the coding language we use to program the robots, to move, to turn, to pick up the balls we have.
It's all a part of the Pendergast School District's STEM initiative to bring 21st century learning skills to these middle school students.
Everybody works at different levels. They all don't come in knowing everything. What I do is I try to entice them. I try to say, hey, what can I do to get you to the next level?
Mr. Newman is an amazing teacher. He might push you a little higher than you are expected to, but he's still helping you raise your grades.
To be able to attend the academy, students have to apply and understand that they will be independently driven to complete the coursework. Students who have accepted the challenge have shown academic growth, explains Pendergast Superintendent Lily DeBlue.
These students scored double than what the double than what the school scores in math and ELA, and triple what the district scores. So that tells you that this type of learning is very, very effective for students and just helps them get to the next level of achievement.
Newman's creative teaching is not only restricted to the Villa de Paz Academy, but now he has earned the opportunity to be a selected Khan ambassador. As one out of only 6 in Arizona selected, Newman will now get to produce learning content that will not only reach his students here, but around the world through the Khan Academy. The Khan Academy offers a diverse platform of online courses that identify learning gaps and strengths and tools students can access in or outside the classroom.
So this is just a small part of what we can do later on in life. Because as my fellow classmates said before, that there's jobs upcoming real fast. So that we can use this knowledge we have right now, this confidence we have right now, to go on in the future, and we could be successful with the gifts we have now.
Giving Newman the opportunity to keep shifting the gears of new minds. Reporting for No 99, I'm Sierra Delgado.
Today, you'll get an inside look at what it takes to become a wildlife manager. Then we'll head east for the latest on the endangered Mount Graham red squirrel. All that and more coming up right now on Arizona Wildlife Views.
Arizona Wildlife Views is brought to you by the sale of hunting and fishing licenses and the Heritage Fund, lottery dollars working for wildlife. Some projects made possible by the Sport Fish and Wildlife Restoration Fund.
Welcome to our show. In our first story today, we've got part 1 of an exclusive behind-the-scenes look at the rigorous training that our recruits go through to become an Arizona Game and Fish Wildlife Officer.
They're scientists with sidearms, biologists with a badge. You might know them as game wardens, but at Arizona Game and Fish, they're wildlife managers.
That is a baby, believe it or not.
It's their job to conserve and protect Arizona's wildlife, more than 800 species, and to enforce laws that help keep you safe in the great outdoors. It's a profession unlike any other, one that requires a tremendous amount of training and a special set of skills.
Congratulations to you guys. We are absolutely glad to have you here.
This is a new class of recruits. It's their first day on the job, and we're about to follow their long and challenging journey to see just what goes into the making of a wildlife manager.
I'm a little emotional. I'm sorry. I'm kind of at the end of my career.
seeing you guys start in yours.
Seeing these WM recruits at the start of their careers brings a wave of nostalgia to Jim Hinkle. After a 29-year career, his retirement is just weeks away.
I started out thinking I was going to be a wildlife biologist. And it was when I learned about the wildlife manager position that you not only got to be a professional wildlife biologist, but you also got to be a fully commissioned Arizona peace officer where you could enforce laws, protect wildlife, help people in the outdoors. Well, it just put the package all together.
Even though you get spread out.
It was far more than what I expected. Much more difficult, much more challenging, but far more rewarding.
Okay, so this is the large.
Would you get two?
Yeah, I've got
what
two.
Size?
Medium. These are your dress shirts. You're going to be putting them underneath your body armor as well, so they'll need to fit a little bit. They'll need to fit. They'll need to fit a little bit loose. Okay.
Week 1 at Arizona Game and Fish headquarters in Phoenix is all about getting ready for what lies ahead.
Yeah, they'll run you a bit and have you PT before that happens.
The first critical step is making it through 18 weeks of police academy training, which starts in just a couple of days.
Yeah, definitely nervous. You know, it's been quite a process getting here, and I'm really thankful to have made it to this point, but really nervous about, you know, the unknown and the known ahead.
I'm nervous, to be honest with you. You know, I think it's a good thing to be nervous.
I'm excited, I'm nervous. I'm starting to have strange dreams about it at night.
Nervous, but excited. Those are the predominant things. Very excited. This is the first step in the career that I've wanted for a long time. I started wanting to do this when I was 17 years old, and it's finally here, so I'm excited.
A little stressed. I know it's going to be tough. These 4 months will be probably pretty slow passing by. Maybe at the end I'll think differently, but right now it's a long haul coming up.
The anxiety and anticipation of not knowing what you were facing and knowing that you were going into a paramilitary environment where they were going to break you down to build you up and turn you into a professional law enforcement, it was exciting and fearsome all at the same time.
There's mixed emotions. I'm extremely excited, but I'm very nervous. I feel like physically I'm ready, but there's always that little part that, you know, at 45 years old, is my body going to hold up and be able to endure to the end on this?
My expectations are it's going to be brutal. It's going to hurt physically and mentally.
Lots of excitement, lots of nervousness, but I can't wait. I'm ready to start. We're all ready to go.
Enough talk. Let's go to work. That's how I feel. I'm ready to dig in.
Before we get started for Class 39, there's a couple of things I want to go over.
It's Monday, August 3rd, day 1 at NARDA, the Northern Arizona Regional Training Academy, located on the Prescott Valley campus of Yavapai College.
It all hinges on having a servant's heart.
After his welcoming statements, Academy Commander Captain Jeff Noonan of the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office reminds the trainees that everything they do here is done for a purpose. Then he introduces their drill sergeants.
Get on your feet! What is wrong with you? Why are you looking around, freak? What are you looking at? Get on your feet! Quit looking around. I'm not here to be your friend, your buddy, or anything. I'm here to train you.
You see somebody walking down the hallway, an instructor?
Nothing prepares you for that moment when the doors fly open and people are screaming at you and you're like, oh gosh, please don't look at me, please don't look at me, please don't look at me.
Obviously the beginning is not so much fun.
The first and last word will be sir or ma'am. Do you understand that? Sir, yes, sir. Louder. Sir, yes, sir. Sir, yes, sir.
You know, you can hear stories, you can be told about it, but there is no substitute for experiencing it. And to realize that literally your professional career, your income for your life hangs on the balance of surviving and passing and doing well. And so to wash out means I've got to find another career field.
Make no mistake about it, people. This is an intense training program. You got to earn it, people. And that starts right now. Is that clear?
Sir, yes, sir.
And you will be held to a higher standard. Sergeant Kite, will you please get these people out of my classroom?
Yeah.
stars move. You can't hack it here, and you cannot hack it out in the real world.
A lot of things been said, but you know, one which just keeps sticking with me is embrace the suck. And I think that's going to be really applicable to the next 4 months of life.
Those first few weeks, we test them. Because the simple fact is, some people were meant to be cops, and some people were meant to call cops. And if they can't handle that amount of stress in a controlled environment, then they're going to crumble in the real world. And that's not a bad thing to find that out. That's the place to find that out, is in that controlled environment. So it's tough.
I think I'm going to get my butt kicked pretty good, but I think that, you know, I have to look at it like this time is the time in my career where I'm going to be learning so much valuable information. It's going to make me a better person. It's going to make me a better police officer.
The reputation of 1,000 years may be determined by the conduct of 1 hour.
I expect it's going to be hard, and I expect that we're all going to be tried no matter what, no matter how fit we are, no matter how well we are at academics. I know we're going to be tried.
Yeah, go, go.
I expect to be tried because the more you're tried, the better you will be. As long as we all work hard and get everything done, then we'll be fine.
It's going to take this group, we're really going to bond through this experience, and I think one of the main things that's going to get us through is sticking together and becoming a team.
For 18 weeks, the trainees are tested in the classroom, on the track, and in the gym.
Get geared up, right here at this table. Great leg.
Sometimes learning what it takes to be a police officer requires doing things the hard way.
Get back. You're gonna get sprayed in the face.
Like taking a blast of pepper spray to the face and somehow managing to fight through the pain in order to stop the assailant.
What does he got? Get on the ground! Get on the ground now! Go! Good job. Keep an eye on it. Requesting backup. Oh, damn it! Throw water now. Careful rubbing. That helps. That takes an hour.
Through it all, these recruits have become physically and mentally strong. They've united as a team and discovered what it means to enforce the law courageously, ethically, and compassionately.
Hello, I'm Jim Paxson. Today we'll take a step back in time to the Old West. Then it's all about the birds, where they are, who's watching them, and how to photograph them. All that and more next on Arizona Wildlife Views.
Arizona Wildlife Views is brought to you by the sale of hunting and fishing licenses and the Heritage Fund, lottery dollars working for wildlife. Some projects made possible by the Sport Fish and Wildlife Restoration Fund.
Welcome to our show. We've all heard of Jesse James, Doc Holliday, and Wyatt Earp, but what about Deuce Stevens, or Half a Hand Henry, or Sass Kicker? Join us and we'll meet these colorful characters at Winter Range.
For those who hearken back to the days of jingling spurs, the smell of authentic chuck wagon cooking, and cowboys vying to see who's the quickest on the trigger,
421
then cowboy action shooting is for you. Winter Range transforms the Ben Avery shooting facility into a festive scene from the Old West, where competitors from around the world take part in the Single Action Shooting Society's National Championship of Cowboy Action Shooting.
We are a very, very fast-growing shooting sport. But I think one of the biggest takeaways is that people should realize that this is a very, very safe and very fun, family-oriented sport.
Competitors adopt a shooting alias suitable to a character or profession of the late 19th century, a Western movie star, or an appropriate character from fiction, and then dress accordingly in period costume. Cowboy action shooting requires competitors to take their best shots with single-action revolvers, lever-action rifles, and period shotguns.
I've got two replica single-action revolvers. I shoot a lever-action Winchester, and I'm shooting a double-barrel shotgun.
There are plenty of classes to choose from. For the cowgirls, there's the Doily Gang Clinic. The Doily Gang provides an environment where women shooters can come together and ask questions in a friendly, non-threatening way.
I've noticed that a lot of the cowgirls were kind of a little timid when they're trying to learn how to shoot. So what I did is came up with a nonprofit group called the Doily Gang, and we just teach them how to shoot. It's a friendly environment.
And for the cowboys, world champion Deuce Stevens puts on his own shooting seminars.
I take a very common man's approach to teaching. I try to give people skills they can make applicable immediately. Everybody knows that if you need to practice to get better, I try to show them some tangible skills that they can use and take to the range right away.
Here at Winter Range, shooters have the opportunity to learn from the very best. Just ask. People are ready and willing to tell you about what works for them. Really, where else can you get a two-time world champion to spend a few minutes showing you how to shadow shoot?
What I do is I do something called shadow shooting, and that is when you rehearse the stage in your mind before you shoot it. A lot of times, at these competitions, you'll come across a stage that you've never shot before. I've been doing it for 5.5 years, and there's stages here that I've never seen before. So what I do is I train my brain to feel like it's already shot the stage by doing it in my mind, visualizing the stage, and then when I go to actually shoot it, I've kind of tricked my brain into thinking I've already done it and that I'm comfortable with it.
The guy with the blue box gives the start sound and times the action. At the end of the stage, he marks the time. Spotters count misses, and each missed target is added to the total time and final score determined.
The two best shooters in the world right now are 17 and 15 or 16. If I shoot a stage in my best day at 17 seconds, they've just shot it in 12 or 13. These kids now are shooting 22, 24, 26 targets from 3 different types of firearms, 4 different guns in all, from 3 or 4 positions in 12 or 13 seconds. I can't think that fast.
5, 9, 6.
But sometimes the youngest aren't the quickest. But they will steal your heart. Another favorite match that always pulls a huge crowd is the mounted cowboy action shooting. Riders on horseback run a preset course, fastest time wins, with penalties assessed for missed targets and technical infractions.
All right, cowgirl.
Winter Range also features some non-single action shoots. Reminiscent of the movie The Wild Bunch, these shooters are not restricted to single action shooting, and plenty of semi-auto 1911s can be seen in competition, mixed in with lever rifles, .40 caliber and above, and pump shotguns. And what about those young'uns who are turning in the 14 to 17 second stages? 2 of them ended the shoot earning new belt buckles. Cody James took top overall honors for the Cowboys, and Sass Kicker took top overall honors for the Cowgirls. And oh yeah, they're brother and sister, a first ever for Winter Range. Now that's one fine shootin' family. Birds fill our lives with joy and wonder. We are constantly entertained by their song. We enjoy observing their vibrant colors, watching their unique expressions, and laughing at their antics. Some birds are with us year-round, and some migrate from afar only to stay a few weeks of the year. Either way, birds bring us joy. These feathered friends have earned a special place in our lives. And what can bring more joy than a little free spirit with a beautiful song to sing? There is something very special about the joy of having birds around. From that first rousing welcome to the day, the universal dawn chorus, the often mysterious sounds of the birds is almost constant. Birding is one of the fastest growing and most participated in outdoor recreation activities in the United States. Millions of Americans enjoy birding at some level, some quite fanatically. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service put the 2011 estimated population of birders 16 years of age and older at around 47 million. That's about 20% of the population. The average birder is 53 years old and more than likely has a better than average income and education. She is slightly more likely to be female and highly likely to be white. There's also a good chance that this birder lives in the South in an urban area. Backyard birding is the most prevalent form of birding, with 88% of participants watching birds from the comfort of their homes. 38% of birders travel more than a mile from home, visiting both private and public lands.
It's interesting to look at our typical customer. As a backyard wild bird store, I would say that 95% of our customers, maybe higher, are what I call casual backyard birders. And there's a difference between what we call field birders and casual backyard birders. Personally, I do both. I do a lot of backyard birding, but I actually go out into the field. I'm the type of birder that will chase rare bird sightings. If I hear about a bird that showed up somewhere that's unusual, I will drop everything and run out into the field and go see that bird. And there are a lot of serious field birders, but they're different than our core customer. Our core customer is seriously a casual backyard birder. Oftentimes I'll get a customer in the store and I'll say, so what kind of birds are you seeing in your yard? And they're like, I have no idea. I just enjoy feeding them. It's like, that's cool. So identification isn't that important to them. It's just the enjoyment they receive from seeing the birds in their yard and watching the bird behavior in their yard.
Birders are quite serious about it too, spending millions of dollars each year on equipment and travel. Trip-related expenditures include food, lodging, transportation, and other incidental expenses.
We were fortunate enough to find this place here in Hereford, right between the major canyons of Ash, Miller, and Carr Canyons. Each of those canyons being world-renowned for birding, especially hummingbirds. And we started our bed and breakfast catering to birders, not only from the United States, but from all over the world. We've been doing this for now 11 years, in our 12th year right now. And we've had guests from every state, from foreign countries including Australia, New Zealand, Hungary, the UK, most of the Canadian provinces we've had guests from. And we're very proud of what we've accomplished here. We're very proud. Our first year in business, we had 21 nights of occupancy. We have 2 rooms, so 21 nights out of 365 days, we weren't sure that we had picked the right business. But those 21 nights have grown exponentially, and we do more than 250 nights of occupancy currently, with many of those nights being return guests.
What kinds of birds are they looking at? 75% of away-from-home birders reported observing waterfowl like ducks and geese, making those the most watched type of bird. Birds of prey such as hawks, eagles, and owls were also popular, with 72% of birders, followed in popularity by songbirds such as cardinals and robins, and other water birds such as herons and shorebirds.
We've been here since '03, and immediately upon getting out of the U-Haul with all of our furniture, I noticed a blue bird in the backyard that I misidentified as a scrub jay, only to realize in short order that it was a Mexican jay. And that went down as our first yard bird. And in our tenure here, our list has grown from that first Mexican jay to a list of 173 species having been seen in or from our half-acre piece of land here. Most people know of Arizona as a great place for hummingbirds, and we've seen 12 different species of hummingbirds on our property. many warbler species, including painted redstart, 4 owl species, including our annually nesting elf owl. Some of the rare birds that we've had, rare for this location, we've had a Lewis's woodpecker one time. We had a pinyon jay show up one fall. Another very good bird for down here is a buried thrush. It showed up long enough for us to get a few photos and for my wife to come out and confirm my sighting. Probably 11, 12 species of sparrows, including a clay-colored sparrow, fox sparrow, white-throated sparrow, and just about all the others expected to be seen in southeast Arizona. We probably have 25 to 30 species that we consider resident, that they're here year-long, such as cactus wren, curve-bill thrasher, acorn, ladderback, and Gila woodpeckers. But in the fall, we get an influx of what we call winter migrants, northern flicker. And then of course there's those migrants both in spring and fall that come and arrive in late March through the first part of May on their northern migration back to their breeding grounds. That includes a lot of the warbler species. White-throated sparrow is eastern vagrant that shows up periodically. The thing about birds is anything can show up at any place at any point in time.
Birders spend money on a variety of goods and services for their trip-related and equipment-related purchases. In 2011, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service put the total expenditures for birding at $41 billion. Yes, that was billion with a B.
One of the economic impacts that we bring to the community is that we are a knowledge-based business. You can buy birdseed at probably 20 different stores in the Prescott area. We sell more birdseed than anything else. Believe it or not, last year we sold about 700,000 pounds of birdseed, which is really phenomenal for a small backyard wild bird store.
Equipment expenses consist of binoculars, cameras, camping equipment, and other costs.
And then from there, it's just, you know, a mixture of hummingbird feeders and bird baths and yard art and things like that.
By having ripple effects throughout the economy, all this spending is only part of the economic impact of birding. The effect on the economy in excess of direct expenditures is known as the multiplier effect.
Not only are we supporting employees. We have 10 employees who support their families through our business. We're also closely affiliated with a lot of nonprofits in our community and organizations that are like-minded, and we contribute a lot financially to organizations within our community that are doing things to create awareness of the natural environment and protection of birds and habitat. We do have an economic impact within our community and through sales tax collection and things like that.
Most serious birders subscribe to several magazines published specifically for the activity. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of websites worldwide that cater to birders. One such site is Peggy Coleman's Facebook page, Birding, Arizona and the Southwest.
One of my guests from Phoenix suggested that I get on a Facebook page dedicated to birding and bird photography. It was started by a lady named Peggy Coleman. I was able to convince her to come down and see what it was like, and she photographed here in the garden and loved it and posted her pictures, and I started posting images of birds from down here, and it generated a tremendous response from the greater Phoenix area. All have been down, coming south now, to do their birding and bird photography. Social media such as Facebook, offers a tremendous opportunity for small businesses like mine and the other 7 or 8 that are down here.
Additionally, many other general nature magazines, calendars, and websites have birds and bird watching as part of their content, and books. Look at any serious birder's library and you will typically find dozens of reference volumes on bird finding, bird identification, and ornithology. Software, in the form of CDs and downloadable apps, have also become very popular for bird identification. One increasingly popular side shoot of this birding business is bird photography.
I personally used to do a lot of bird photography when I was a child, and I really found a lot of enjoyment in bird photography. But as I got older, I got more serious about birding, and I stopped doing bird photography, and I've never gotten back into it. A lot of our customers do bird photography, and I find personally that it's very hard to mix bird watching and photography. You need to have one focus or the other. It's hard to commingle those two emphases. But I find that people who are excellent photographers are also excellent bird watchers. Bird watching is easy. You just need a simple field guide and maybe a pair of binoculars. But photography requires better equipment and certainly more time in the field to get the good shots.
When I started birding, I was hoping I would see 700 life birds in North America. 700 Club is pretty exclusive. There's probably less than 1,000 birders with that number. I'm in the mid-600s, but once I moved here, I became more passionate about my photography and believing that any rare bird is going to show up here in my yard eventually. So I've lost track of my counting. But in general, birders are very passionate, if not compulsive, about wanting to add to their life lists. We cater to a lot of folks that are return visitors because they missed a bird or two birds or three bird species that they really want to add to that growing list. You know, our current guest, Jack Sheldon from Mesa, is a brand new birder. He started in May. And so the very common birds in the garden, common to me, are new to him. And he shared his photographs with me of an oriole, a very uncommon bird for this time of the year. A Scott's oriole showed up, and he got a killer shot of it. But yet there's the Mexican jays and the titmice and the nuthatch, which are common, but not to him. And I see that in our guests, and I feed off of their excitement and their enthusiasm and their passion. And when they get excited over a bird that I see and know to be common, I get enthused and react. And so birders feed off of each other's passion and enthusiasm. And that makes even the most mundane bird, a house sparrow, exciting if you get a better photograph of it or you see it in a different light.
Birders who don't necessarily want to travel far and wide in their pursuit of that next bird on their life list can set up a backyard garden to bring the birds to them.
In order to attract the birds, you have to provide three essentials: food, water, and cover. And my yard is set up pretty much like that. I've got brush piles behind where I'm sitting, a lot of foliage around the feeder location. Standard feeders, hanging feeders for seed, sock feeders for the goldfinches and siskins, suet baskets. The photographers really don't want to shoot a bird on a feeder, so I find deadfalls that have nice grain, nice contour, and nice cavity locations where I can stuff suet into these holes. And so the birds coming to water want to come from a hidden location, coming out of the oak trees down to the high perches before going down to the water. And when they do so, they also find the hidden goodies, peanuts or suet stuffed into crevices of the perches. Also, we have hummingbird feeders throughout the garden. So provide water, provide food and cover, and voila, you've got it. I also have a photo blind. My initial thought was the birds will not come in if I'm sitting out in the open, only to find out that the blind is a blind to myself. It restricts my vision, and I could probably shoot just as well sitting outside the blind, right in the open. I feed a mixed seed, go through probably 100 pounds a month during the wintertime. Suet, instead of buying the pre-made cakes of suet, we make our own. I use a recipe furnished by Cornell Lab of Ornithology. It's a mixture of oatmeal, cornmeal, flour, lard, and peanut butter. And it's a high energy mix that the birds just absolutely love, especially during the wintertime when other food sources are limited.
Probably the most important thing you can do to attract birds to your yard is to create an inviting habitat in your yard. Habitat dictates whether you're going to be able to invite and attract nature to your yard in general. If you have a really sterile yard with like rock landscaping with a few non-native trees and shrubs, you're not going to attract a lot of birds to your yard. Birds' needs are a lot like ours. They need a place to rear young. They need a place for shelter. They need food. Well, where do birds get their food? Where do they shelter? Where do they rear young? It's in trees and shrubs. They build their nests. They hunker down at night. They roost at night in trees and shrubs. If you want to attract hummingbirds, yeah, native plants is great. Feeders help, but habitat is the most critical piece to attracting birds to your yard. And same for seed eaters and suet eaters, insect eaters.
I think there was a movie, Field of Dreams, when there was a line that person said, if you build it, they will come. And they built a ball field out of a cornfield, and sure enough, they came. Well, my cornfield is my garden here with a water feature, beautiful natural appearing perches for the birds, and of course, food. And over the years, the yard has evolved into an absolutely perfect location for bird photography, or those that just want to bird in a casual way, sitting on the patio where I am right now, and with a wonderful view of the bird photography location, and sit with a beer, iced tea, a good book, and enjoy.
As any birder can tell you, bird song is a great uplifter of the human spirit. When you spend too much time cooped up in an office or driving the little ones to their dance recitals and play dates, one misses the melodies. It's hard to hear their songs above the honking taxis, speeding cars, and the sheer pace and pressure of life. I'll take the honk of a Canada goose any day.
Well, that's our show for today. Hope you enjoyed it. I sure did. For more information, visit our website at azgfd.gov. For all the fine folks at Arizona Game and Fish, I'm Jim Paxson. We'll see you next time.
Coming up on our show this week, we travel to a special place called Coronado. First up, we'll visit the glorious Glorietta Bay Inn. It was once the beautiful home of sugar magnate John Spreckles, and it can now be your home away from home.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's that welcome home feeling.
From there, we balance out our visit with a Segway tour of the island.
This is the 1906 Lodge.
Cruising along the beach and even under the Coronado Bridge as we get a much different view from these techie two-wheelers. Of course, no visit to Coronado would be complete without stopping by the famed Del Coronado Hotel. It's been a magical magnet for vacationers for 125 years now, and she is just as modern and up-to-date as she is a classical beauty.
We're a very beautiful, world-class, contemporary resort today, but we have this backdrop of history. It's a wonderful combination.
Finally, we're off to see the wizard, the wonderful author of Oz. Yes, the man who brought us that classic story once called Coronado his home, and he's remembered in a big way for a story that's still a favorite more than 100 years later.
He wrote poems, too. He wrote a poem on Coronado.
The question is, now which way do we go? And I say we lock arms and follow the yellow brick bridge to Coronado.
Hello and welcome to our show for this week and another typically terrific day on Coronado Island. We've come here to the shores of the Pacific because we can. And I'm not just saying that to be smart. I'm saying that if you can get here, you should get here. Now we're just across the bay from San Diego, and everybody knows how popular San Diego is to visit. Well, around here they like to say it's just a bridge away. But wow, what a difference when you get here.
Coronado may not be one of the golden cities of Cibola like its namesake was looking for, but what a gold mine of vacation bliss. It is one of the places to get far away from the daily routine and recharge, reinvigorate, and relax. Adding so much to this gorgeous getaway is the patron saint of Coronado, sugar magnate John Spreckles, and his community-minded spirit. He built the town's first library. He donated the land for this park. And over in San Diego, he built the Organ Pavilion in Balboa Park, which we enjoyed so much on an earlier show. He even built this tent resort so everyone could afford to vacation here.
Tent City here was its own city in itself. It had water, it had a trolley line, and people would come and stay by the ocean and just relax and have a good time.
Mr. Spreckles' legacy also includes his stunning mansion, built in 1908 for $32,000. It was once the social and civic center of Coronado. Today, it's the glorious Glorietta Bay Inn, and it's open to all of us who want to come stay.
You know, it's the opportunity of staying in the mansion, but even if you can't stay in the mansion, the surrounding rooms give you so much. You're not excluded because this is where we hold our breakfast, and really being mere steps from the ocean is just the best thing you could do. And the marble staircase is just, all the brides have their pictures done there. Anybody that walks in here, generally, that's the main photo op of the property.
The marble staircase is indeed beautiful, but for me, the sweet spot of this sugar mansion is the music room. This is the place you can easily lose yourself in a time warp, going back 80, 100 years.
Truly a music room, so the pipes actually ran underneath the original wood that's in that room. The music room is open all day long to all our guests. I don't do any private functions there because I want everybody to be able to experience. I have games there. We do our continental breakfast there from 7 to 10:30. And then Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, I have a local historian that comes through here and does the tour for the Spreckles Mansion, the Dell, and the city itself.
And for the ultimate experience at the Glorietta Bay Inn, you can stay in what was essentially John Spreckles' man cave, the hideaway he used to spend quiet time alone.
Tell us where we are right now, because we've come to a place that not a lot of guests get to go to.
We are on the top of the Spreckles Mansion, 1,000 square feet, what we call the penthouse for John D. Spreckles.
And this is a guest room.
This is the guest room, runs about $700 a night, but you get the whole top floor views from the Coronado Bridge all the way to the Pacific Ocean.
Tell us about the room inside, because we were in awe as we sat in there.
Well, the room actually just got redone. We spent about $40,000 on it, brought a little bit more contemporary feel into the mansion, but want to keep that traditional antiqueness of it.
I have to tell you about one of my all-time favorite hotel amenities. Besides Wi-Fi, we all know the classic children's book, Goodnight Moon. Well, if you're here at the hotel and your kids want to hear the story And maybe you've heard it enough? Watch this. Speaker. Bop, bop, bop. Problem solved.
Good night, moon. In the great green room, there was a telephone and a red balloon and a picture of the cow jumping over the moon.
And why is Goodnight Moon available by phone?
Because I wanted it that way.
And that may sum up the Glorietta Bay Inn. Luxury, history, and beautiful. Just the way you want your getaway to be. With a car stolen every 30 seconds somewhere in the U.S., it's important to make sure that your comprehensive auto insurance is up to date and paid up to date. And there are some other things you can do to protect yourself. Obviously, locking your car doors is one of them, but you should also have the VIN number etched into all the windows of your vehicle. Anything valuable should always be hidden from view, and never leave your car running and unattended. Also, install a motion-activated light where your vehicle is parked, and if you're in a public lot, park in well-lit areas. Another good idea are theft deterrent decals. You can enroll in the Watch Your Car program, which allows police to pull your vehicle over without cause between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. within a mile of an international border. Etching in your VIN number and installing a car alarm or kill switch could also make you eligible for insurance discounts. So be sure and check with your agent.
We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, our visit to Coronado continues with what was the segue going to be? Tours! The Segway Tours, of course. I know that was dumb, but trust me, the tour is a lot of fun. And we'll do it when we come back. I don't think I've ever seen this particular view of the bridge from here. This is neat.
This is a very, very unique view of the bridge. When you're on the bridge, you don't realize how big that curve is, but that curve is 80 degrees, which is only 10 degrees less than a right angle.
Cars have changed over the years, and our members' needs have changed too. That's why over the last 100 years, AAA's services have changed to provide you greater coverage and value than ever before. AAA Auto Insurance, competitive rates, legendary reliability. For a free insurance quote, call 1-800-INSURANCE. Visit AAA.com or a local AAA office.
On your next trip to Coronado Island, you're invited to stay at the gorgeous Glorietta Bay Inn. Built as a private home, it combines old-world charm with modern amenities. Free Wi-Fi, close to the beach, and complimentary continental breakfast. Check us out at glorietabayinn.com. When it comes to visiting a great vacation spot, we found that there's a right way, a wrong way, and the Segway to help you see it all. Yes, one of the ultimate gadgets has gone from out of touch price-wise for most of us to easily within reach of just about every vacationer.
Look at this glorious weather in Coronado, California.
Norm Funk proudly runs Segway of Coronado, and because he gives everyone a 15-minute safety briefing, all of his riders have their Segway Street Smarts to confidently navigate around town.
Uphill test. Passed.
Okay guys, we're going to come down here to our first historic property.
Wow, this is a great looking place. What is this?
Well, this is the 1906 Lodge. The 1906 Lodge was built as a boarding house in 1906. And what they've done is they totally refurbished it and made it into a boutique hotel. Beautiful place to stay. Not a lot of people know about it. And I think there's only 17 rooms, so it's a beautiful place to stay. It's no longer a boarding house, it's a boutique hotel.
From here, we cruise about 12 miles an hour past the Del Coronado Hotel. And since Segways are legal to ride on the sidewalk, we don't have to worry too much about traffic. We are, of course, polite to passing pedestrians.
The Mayor and City Council welcome you to the Peoria City Council meeting. As a courtesy to others, please silence all phones. If you would like to address an issue that is on the agenda, or if you would like to speak to the Council regarding a non-agenda item, please complete a speaker request form, which can be found in the front lobby of the Peoria City Council chambers or in the tray to the left of the speaker's podium. Please place the completed speaker request form in the second tray to the left of the speaker's podium labeled Request to Speak. All speakers will have 3 minutes to complete their comments. A countdown clock is easily visible on the left side of the wall behind the City Council dais. Only items listed on the agenda may be addressed by the Council. Since items presented as part of a speaker's request have not been listed on the agenda, and due to the requirements of open meeting laws, the Council will be unable to respond to items presented as part of the speaker's request. However, please be aware that your comments will be noted. The speaker's name will be called to speak at the appropriate time, in the order that the forms were received. Thank you for your interest and participation in the Peoria City Council meeting.
The Peoria City Council meeting will now come to order. Please rise for a moment of quiet reflection and the Pledge of Allegiance led by Youth Council Liaison Getrost.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The clerk will please call the roll.
Mayor Carlett.
Here.
Vice Mayor Edwards.
Here.
Councilmember Patena.
Here.
Councilmember Binsbacher.
Here.
Councilmember Finn.
Here.
Councilmember Hunt.
Here.
Councilmember Leone.
Here.
Council Liaison Acosta.
Here.
And Council Liaison Gatrist.
Here.
Good evening and welcome to the Peoria City Council meeting of November 28th, 2017. We will begin this evening with a presentation of certificates to board and commission members, and I would like to ask Councilmember Mike Finn to join me at the front. He is the chair of the Council Subcommittee for Boards and Commissions.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So before we hand these out, I just want to thank everyone that helps us out in our boards and commissions. If you don't know, we have over 20 boards and commissions with over 100 volunteers, and those volunteers help us with how we run our city, give us guidance representing the citizens, and it's incredibly important to us that we have that involvement, and I just want to thank everyone that served, is currently serving, and those that are coming on board to help us. It just means the world to us to have the volunteers out there. So with that, we have Joanna Conde with the Planning and Zoning Commission. Little round of applause, don't be afraid. Do you want to get a photo op? It's with the mayor, not with me.
Oh, no.
Thank you. And Linda Grice, also with the Planning and Zoning Commission. And Tad Snydekor, Veterans Memorial Board. And last but certainly not least, Leah Gilbertson with the Youth Advisory Board. Are you here? All right, we'll make sure that she knows she got a great round of applause. Thank you.
Okay, we will now proceed to the consent agenda. Tonight's consent agenda includes items that require a public hearing. If there is any member of the public present who wants to address a public hearing on the consent agenda, please complete a speaker request form and place it in the bin next to the speaker's podium. This item will be removed from consent and heard during the normal course of the regular agenda. Is there a member of the public who would like to address an item that is on the consent agenda? All right, seeing none, council, are there any items to be removed from consent? Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Please vote. And the consent agenda passes unanimously. Now on to new business. Item 22R, Memorandum of Understanding, Peoria Police Officers Association, July 2018 through June 2021. Mr. Tyne?
Great, thank you, Mayor. And Laura Engineeri, our Human Resources Director, will provide a presentation for you.
Thank you, Jeff, and good evening, Mayor and Council. Joining me this evening is Dee Dee Gates, who is our HR manager and lead negotiator for the city, and two PPOA representatives, Mitch Fuller and Andrew Fantasia. PPOA represents 150 police officer positions in the city, and their memorandum of understanding expires June of 2018. So in accordance with the city code, we began negotiations in September for a new MOU for this group. Before I cover the key provisions in this MOU, I wanted to talk a little bit about the process that we used. We have 4 employee organizations at this city, and they represent over 60% of our employees. And we have excellent relationships with all of them, and PPOA we also have an excellent relationship with PPOA. They're no exception to that. We consider the employee organizations partners in this process. Their opinion is very important, and from an HR perspective, our employer of choice status is very important as well. And we think that a competitive compensation and benefits package is important to maintain that employer of choice status. So these are some things that we considered as we proceeded into negotiations. We use the meet and confer process consistent with the city code. Meetings occurred on a regular basis, and we are proud to report that communication and collaboration at the table were open, professional, productive, and resulted in mutual respect. All involved were fully engaged, courteous, freely exchanged ideas, and you'll see with some of the provisions of the MOU, we've got some unique things in there, and that's a result of good communication at the table and some good solutions. I want to recognize the negotiators. James Cousins, who is not here with us, was the lead negotiator for PPOA, and of course Mitch Fuller and Andrew Fantasia, who are here. Norm Bacon also was at the table, and Dave Adams, who recently retired, was also involved in the negotiation process. And then for the city, Dee Dee Gates, and HR consultant Gina Valenzuela. But I also want to acknowledge that although these individuals were at the table, I think PPOA would agree that there was a lot of behind-the-scenes work that was done by a number of individuals at the city. The entire HR team was involved in the negotiations. And I particularly want to mention Christine Nickel and Stacy Oliver, who were the ones that were kind of going through the costing process, so they would come up with some different ideas and cost it out. And so I want to make sure that we acknowledge the entire HR team in this process. Earlier this year, we conducted a market wage and study survey after meeting with PPOA representatives and identifying the information that was important to them. So we surveyed 12 cities, we asked them about their salary and their benefits, and then we provided those results to PPOA representatives. And then formal negotiations started at the table on September 6th. And then on November 20th, we were advised by PPOA that they had ratified the proposed contract. So we're very pleased. Within about a 2-month process, it was complete. So here's the key provisions of this MOU. It's a 3-year contract beginning June of 2018, ending June of 2021. It includes a merit step increase on the anniversary date if the police officer is eligible. So if you remember, when a police officer starts, generally he or she will start at the minimum of the pay range, and then each year he steps up he or she about 5% each year until the step 8, which is about 7 years, and then they are at the maximum of the pay range, and they don't have a step increase after that. This MOU includes the step increase for those that are eligible, and it also includes market adjustments. For the first year, the market adjustment would be a 3%, and that would be only for those that are at the maximum of the pay range. And that is about 60%, a little less than 60% of our current officers are at the maximum of the pay range. So they would get that 3% the first year. No others would get the 3%. The second year, 3% market adjustment only for those that are not at the maximum. So everybody that's in that salary range will get that 3%. And then the third year, everyone will receive a 2% market adjustment. We did some different things with sick leave in this proposed MOU. Currently, all police officers receive 8 hours of sick leave per month, and there's opportunities to get paid out for the balance of that sick leave. 2 opportunities. When they are employed, there's an annual payout, and currently it's at 25% for anything that's over 1152 hours. So 8 hours per month, just to give you an idea how much it takes to get to 1152, a police officer has to have spent 12 years here not using any sick leave to get to 1152. So not easy to obtain. So it's 25% now. The proposed MOU calls for a 50% payout every year, and that 50% is placed into a retiree health savings account. And upon retirement, currently all employees that have at least 200 hours of sick leave receive 50% of their sick leave paid out. We have changed that in this MOU to allow for a little different scale. So if they have less than 500 hours upon retirement, they are paid 25%. So they're a little less than they would have been paid with the current MOU. But if they have over 500 hours and up to 899 hours, they'll get paid the same. Beyond 900 hours, they get paid 75% instead of the 50%. We think this is helpful to the members, but it's also helpful to the city because this helps ensure that they're using sick leave for the appropriate reason. Officers have the opportunity to receive compensatory time instead of paid overtime. And currently the maximum balance is 100. We have increased that to 140 in this current MOU, or in the new MOU. And then additional compensation on the second year of the contract, and only for those employees that are at the maximum of the range, so only officers that are at the maximum of the range will receive an additional compensation equivalent to 1 week's salary or 1 week's vacation. Vacation is also accrued. It's a little different than sick leave. It's not 8 hours per month. It depends on how much years of service they've had. But currently they have a maximum of 340 hours of vacation time that they can accrue. This MOU increases it to 360 hours, and it allows a payout for anything over 360 hours up to 40 per year. So just a little added benefit. We currently have bilingual pay for those police officers that speak Spanish in their job duties. And this allows, with the chief's discretion, other languages to be eligible for bilingual pay. And lastly, we have step adjustments. We have approximately 34 officers that are off step, so their years of experience do not match the step that they are at on their pay range. The proposed MOU fixes that and places them on the appropriate step. And with that, I can answer any questions.
Thank you. Council, any questions, comments? Councilmember Patena?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a comment. I would like to thank Laura and Dee Dee and Gina for all your hard work and all the people, behind the scenes that supported this, as well as Mitch and Andrew and all the people that supported you as well. It appeared to us, and what we were hearing was that there was a high level of cooperation between the two groups negotiating, and that's always important to us. It's what helps move negotiations forward. Our council supported this contract. We want to remain an employer of choice. We want to attract good employees and retain them. And I think that this contract allows for that. So thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you. Well said. And I would also like to echo that. These kind of negotiations are difficult. They sometimes start off with people, vying for sides. And in the city of Peoria, we try to encourage a situation where everybody ends up winning instead of vying for sides. That's what it means to be an employer of choice, and it looks like we have done that this time, and I'm very, very pleased about it. So thank you all for all of your efforts. And with that, I will entertain a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Council, will you please vote? And it passes unanimously. Thank you once again. We will now move on to the Vistancia Community Facilities District Board meeting. And this is the consent agenda, and it consists of two items: the approval of the minutes from the May 16th, 2017 meeting and the ingress-egress easement to Central Arizona Water Conservation District. That is northwest of Vistancia Boulevard and Westland Road. Board members, are there any items to be removed from consent? Seeing none, is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Please vote. And the consent agenda passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda is call to the public for non-agenda items. I do not have any speaker request forms, so we will move on to reports from the city manager. Mr. Tyne.
Great, thank you, Mayor. No planned presentation for tonight. Just wanted to inform you, you do have it within your packet, also included for your review and information is the 2018 City Council meeting calendar. So with that, no other items. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Youth Council Liaison Acosta.
Thank you, Mayor. So I haven't been able to attend a lot of the city events because I have a job and they happen to fall on the weekend. So, but my school had a My Life Day. I think last week was when it happened. And that's basically a day where 8th graders go to their future high school and they explore the classes and just find things that they might be interested in during high school, and I got to volunteer for that. I have human physiology, so I was in one of the rotations. What my teacher did is she had stations where the students came to visit and they asked about, heart circulation or the brain, and, just to get them interested in human physiology. So I was at the heart circulation station, and I had to repeat how heart circulation works about 11 times in the past 2 hours. So if anybody wants to know how heart circulation happens throughout the body, I am more than happy to inform you on that. But with that, that's all I have.
All right, we'll be asking you about that later then. Thank you. Councilmember Patena.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'd like to congratulate all of our new committee members. Thank you for your gift of time and for supporting our city. You're very important to us. On November 9th, I attended the Veterans Success Center grand opening at Luke Air Force Base. For those of you who may not be familiar with that, it gives an opportunity for the service members who are leaving the military, gives them an opportunity to find jobs, help them with resumes, and just make sure that their transition from military life to civilian life goes as easy as possible. And I've already heard some good success stories. November 11th, the mayor and I had a chance to speak at the Veterans Memorial Ceremony at Rio Vista Park. There were hundreds of people that showed up and attended the event, and they paid tribute to the veterans while visiting the Honor Wall and the Bell Huey helicopter that's on display, the reflection deck over the lake, and the service flag display. If you haven't been out there yet, please take a moment to get out there and see it. It's a quite extraordinary honor to our veterans. On November 13th, the Ironwood District held an annual shred event in Westbrook Village. It went from 8 to 11, and more than 300 vehicles dropped off items to be shredded at this hour event. I want to personally thank Karen Halstead for being there and really taking charge of this. I was out of the country for a little while, and she took charge of that and really did an extraordinary job. So thank you, Karen. November 21st, they were packing boxes for the Lions Club at the 2018 Christmas for Troops. They had volunteers from local high schools. Cox Communications showed up with a group of men, Lions Club's groups in Peoria, along with some City of Peoria employees. Over 250 boxes were packaged and sent this year, thanks to the many generous donations that they were able to receive. And lastly, on November 18th, I attended a morning with the mayor at Rio Vista Recreation Center. These are really very informative meetings. The mayor brings a map of the city. She gives a little bit of history about what's going on in the city, talks about public safety, the state lands, and many other topics that are interesting to our citizens. She also, I want to give her a little bit of a shout out. She also recognizes Peoria employers and companies of the month, and I think that's a nice perk that we give our small businesses here. During the week, she's attending meetings almost every day of the week. She's busy doing things, and we never know about them. I appreciate her efforts, and I think our citizens do as well. She has really taken the position of mayor to a new level, and I think the staff and the council and the citizens all appreciate her efforts. I certainly appreciate all of her effort, as this council does, and thank you on behalf of the city of Peoria.
Thank you for those kind words.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. Councilmember Binsbacher.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say there was a lot of events a couple of weeks ago focused on celebrating our veterans, and so much goes into those events. I attended an event at Vistancia Elementary School, attended our event at Rio Vista, and there were others, but it was really incredible to see the patriotism in our city. And I am incredibly proud of that. And what was really particularly special about that was the generations coming together and honoring our veterans. And I know a lot of work goes into that, whether it's at our schools, at our facilities. Staff puts a lot of effort into a lot of those events, and that doesn't go unnoticed, I want to say. It really doesn't, and it was a proud month for all of us. And I echo Councilmember Patena's remarks about you, Mayor. The presentations that were given at Rio Vista by you, that was unbelievable, and you did a great job too. Everyone did. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Vice Mayor Edwards.
Thank you, Mayor. I think it's going to be Veterans Day Memorial comments. I want to echo Councilman Binsbacher and Patena. I want to go a little step further. Shout out to John Sefton and the Veterans Board. Those individuals do a phenomenal job. They did a phenomenal job with the guidance of the mayor and Councilman Pateta for the rededication of that memorial. I've been out there several times since that dedication, and it's not quite as full, but it is very full now. So I really encourage residents to get out and take a look at this new memorial. It's a place for reflection. It's just a phenomenal place within the Rio Vista Park. And so I just want to thank the mayor and Councilman Patena for spearheading that effort. Very well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Finn.
Thank you. I will also echo those comments. Bill, you did an amazing job, and Mayor, you did a phenomenal job as well. And the entire event was so well done. It was just it was incredible. So that was really a great event. I also want to throw some personal thanks out to the crew over at Station 193. I had an opportunity to do an impromptu ride-along that just happened to fall in my lap, and the captain said, "Jump in," and we went on the rollover over on the 101, and I got to see how amazing they are at working a scene like that. And if you didn't read about it in the paper, there's an ejection out of the vehicle, and it was quite the ride-along to go on. But it was just amazing how well they work together and how focused they are and just how well they work as a team. And then ironically, a week later, I got to see 193 in action again with a different crew at my home. Well, I'm getting to that part. At my home, and watched the care for someone who was having a medical issue was just unbelievable. I mean, it was just incredible to watch how caring they were for that particular individual and how they took care of both of them in that response. And then watching all of my aunt's faces light up when the firemen came into the house, that was interesting. I think I'm going to put in an order for some turnouts, and I'm not sure I can pull that off, but I think I need some of those. But anyways, I just wanted to thank them for that great display of caring and just how amazing they are at the job that they do. And then finally, I wanted to thank Mitch and Andrew, you and your team for your leadership through this process of the negotiations. I know it's always an interesting time, but I personally appreciate that leadership that you all displayed in your team in getting through this and getting to the end here. So I thank you and your team for that, as well as the city leadership in getting this done. So I don't think there's much more important than public safety, and I'm glad that we're on the path that we're at. So with that, that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I guess I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Rio Vista veterans thing. You two speakers represented us so brilliantly and eloquently, and there are, as always, so many people behind the scenes to thank, because an experience like that does not come together by us saying, oh, let's have an event. There's a lot that goes on. So, John, I want to thank your folks and Bill Moss and whomever else. I know I couldn't name them all, but there were a plethora of guys and gals who helped with that. And I tell you what, when I came around Rio Vista Boulevard there and saw that Huey, it just took my breath away. I don't know how we landed that. I don't know how we scored that, but I think it is the most patriotic, the most unexpected thing that makes you feel patriotic. Flags do, of course, but we expect them. But to see that Huey helicopter, just, I can't express. And I've heard a lot of people say, was that real? And, you know, because that's how impressive it is. And thanks to, again, to Mitch and Andrew. I know serving on a committee like this is really, really hard. And to Dee and your staff, you guys just worked together so brilliantly, and I certainly voted for it tonight, and I hope that our vote tells you how much we appreciate our police officers, whatever the rank. I know you're called different sergeants and lieutenants and all that, but we really, really appreciate you, and I personally feel very safe all the time, really, in my home, in my neighborhood, in Old Town. And it's because I know you guys are close and you're on the job, and I know that you really care. So just thank you again, and know that our vote was a vote of support for you guys. And I know what you mean about those firefighters, and yeah, it makes my heart flutter too. But what I really want to reiterate is it doesn't matter how small the emergency is. They take over like it's life and death. And before my parents both passed, I was calling them frequently for things that I couldn't handle, but that were not emergencies. And they just came and they said, don't ever, I was always apologizing for calling, and they said, don't ever, that's what we're here for. That's our job. So, but they do it so happily. So thanks to those guys too. Don't we just have the best people working in our city? I mean, we could just go on and on and on, but I won't. This coming Friday, December 1st, is huge festival right here in Old Town. The holiday festival, we usually run between 5,000 and 6,000 people, lots of little kids, snow. Somehow miraculously, we get snow right here in Old Town. And we have just all kinds of games and just a lot of food, really, really great stuff. And as you start driving down 83rd Avenue towards Friday, closer to Friday, you're going to start seeing beautiful planters along each side, pots, if you will. They have been artistically created by artists, real artists, here in our city. Wham, What's Happening Art, whatever the last word is. They have dedicated over a year of work on these, and they all have full-time jobs. So it's just been a real labor of love, and I think you're going to be so impressed as you drive down, and they'll be all ready for the big festival. And I think that clicks off all my boxes, so thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Leone?
Yes, thank you. I just got a couple of things. I did want to say on Friday, November 17th, I'm sorry, no, Saturday, I went to the Veterans Memorial Wall, and the speeches was just great. If you've never been down there, they got that helicopter. All the names there was the first responders. So I think that everybody that has people in the service that would like to put their names in there, I think you should. I know I'm going to put my son's name in there, and he was in the Marines, and I'm going to put it in there, and it doesn't really cost that much, but I think it's important that we let the people know that we do have names going in there, and it's going to be a lot of people from Peoria. Also, I want to mention that now on Friday, November 17th, the all-night market at the sports complex was just great. I think it was 2 nights, and they had great food and good music. If you've never gone, I think you should go there and see how good it is. Thank you. God bless each and every one of you, and God bless America.
Thank you. Youth Council Liaison Gattrast?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. On November 18th, my family and I attended the community center for their turkey bowling event. It was amazing to see families competing against one another and utilizing a frozen turkey and a frozen Cornish hen for the youth to knock over the bowling pins. There were prizes, arts and crafts, and mini games to play. I got to meet a lot of people in the city of Peoria's adaptive programs, and all of them were really friendly. A big thank you to the community center and all of the volunteers for putting on such a wonderful event. On November 21st, many youth met at Rio Vista Recreation Center. The city of Peoria offered a forensic lab and a tour over at the ASUS campus. We sat in a class while students from ASUS conducted their very own mock trials about utilizing their skills in forensics. We learned a lot about toxicology, biology, and chemistry. These methods were learned during their presentation that they gave us, and they taught us how they use their methods in an actual forensic case. There was a great turnout for the youth that were in attendance. There were many of us. And a very big thank you to the Peoria Teens program that's led by Adam Johnson and the ASUS campus for hosting such a wonderful event. Thank you.
Thank you. So during this Thanksgiving season, we obviously have a lot to be thankful for, and we are very grateful. I just want to add on one more thing I will say about the Veterans Memorial. It is expanded, it is greatly enhanced, but we have added an honor wall, and so that gives everybody the opportunity to have an engraving of somebody that they love, care for, respect, who was a veteran or is a veteran, currently serving or has been serving. You can put their name on the wall. It says their name and their rank and their dates of service, and that will be there forever, a memorial forever for someone that you love. And that is an opportunity now for all the citizens of Peoria. I think it's a great gift. And with that, we are adjourned. It's kind of